Greetings, my friends, and thank you for tuning in to the Hometown Moguls podcast. My name is Ryan Yoder, and here I will be sharing inspiring small business stories from your own community. Please take a second to like, subscribe, follow, share, give a thumbs up. Anything that you can do to help support the podcast would be greatly appreciated. Now, please sit back and enjoy the show. Whenever you're ready, take a couple seconds, a couple minutes, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the world about what you got going on.
So I'm Matt Maugle. I own Victory Barbell Co. I started it probably last March is when I really had like a real idea. I kind of just dabbled in it when, I was in the military. When you're deployed, you have a couple things you can do. You can either just sit in your room or work out or do some sort of schooling. So it became like a little bit of a competition between me and my dad, and about like who lifted more that day or what lift you did now or whatever the case is. And then you come home and you get out of that rhythm. And there's pizza here, or there's bad habits there, or there's beer, whatever the case is. You kind of just do it recreationally. And then after my brother died in 2014, we were both in a pretty dark place. So working out kind of just kept us in a better mindset. So, it became medicine for, our grief or, whatever the case was. And then I kind of fell in love with it and was like, I'll try doing this, and I'm pretty good at it. And I can keep lifting, and I'll try for this goal and that goal. And then it kind of blew up. And then I noticed people around me were in kind of a mental health slump. And I started to promote that by saying, well, come work out, we'll just talk, you may not even know what you want to say, and we'll lift for 10 minutes or, an hour and maybe talk about it. It kind of grew from there. And then I was like, well, I want to take it a little bit more seriously. I was flying a lot. I was traveling a lot with the military. And then I left the military, and that's when, you moved in, and, I got to see you again, and we started talking, and I was like, I think I want to open a gym. And I kind of just grew from there. And then, you get all the fun stuff where you're like, well, I want this logo to look like this, or I want, and then, you go down that rabbit hole of all the fun stuff. And then once the fun stuff's over, then you're like, I got to buy a business license, and I got to buy, insurance this, and, make sure waivers that. And so, you get the fun stuff, and then, you get the not so fun stuff. But I really love the fact that I can have friends, people I don't know, come to the gym and kind of leave their cares behind and better themselves while they're there, whether it's physically, mentally, or emotionally.
And I give you a lot of kudos because, you're leaving out the fact that, that particular industry, I guess a lot of industries were directly affected by shutdowns and COVID and people being afraid of, that this was like the next bubonic plague or something. Yeah. So, you have this inventory of nice equipment that you've gathered up and everything. You got this thing rolling, and then the world starts shutting down, and, you've definitely stuck it out. You stayed strong, putting up your videos on Instagram and Facebook and everything like that. And, I think now more than ever, that idea of having a safe space to go and a teamwork effort, because I have a squat rack in my garage, but there is something, it's almost like going to the library. You're there to study, you're there to work. Same thing with you go to the gym, there's a lot less lollygagging, you have people there pushing you and everything. So I think that being the center point, anyone can go to Planet Fitness for $10, but then you're there by yourself. Majority of the time, you don't have someone like you there pushing you.
Yeah, I noticed that. That was another, selling point, at least for me, is that I was noticing people were going to, they're like, oh, well, I could pay $30 a month and I could go to Planet Fitness, or, whatever the case is. And I was like, yeah, but you just kind of walk around, you might not have the know-how. And like, even if you come here for a month and I teach you one thing, at least you're going into the world safely. You're not out of position for a lift, or you're not in a dangerous position for a lift because you see the guy next to you in the squat rack squatting 315 and he may be 4 inches shorter than you. But that's not really, they don't consider that that person may be lifting for the last 10 years and has studied the art and studied the form and function. I try to teach people a lot, function and form, like point at the muscle you want to engage, and then use the movement to meet that standard. Like, and that's just a little part of it. There's a lot of there's a lot more to it. Like, each person's different. Like, if you were to come to the gym, you have a knowledge of working out. I could talk to you different than maybe I could talk to an 80-year-old grandmother that wants to, just be in shape. Like, or I have kids that come there, that want to get in shape for football or for soccer or for rugby. And each person, that's the benefit for me, is that each person's different, and I get to talk to the person as an individual instead of as a group, and they just kind of wander around the gym or whatever the case is. I tell them all the time that, like, this is your space, like, if you're safe here, whether that's with, I have them wear a mask, I have them walk through any ailments they have. I talk to them. It's me and them. I turn their music on. It's their world. It's Victory Barbell Company, but it's their gym, like for that hour or that 2 hours or whatever they, we've worked out. So
Now, how do you, yeah, and I was going to ask, how do you work that? Do you generally have, enough clientele where you can kind of just have like an open door, like come between this time and this time each day? Or do you have people specifically schedule, ahead of time what day they're going to stop by at what time, so you kind of have it spread out that way? How are you running the schedule?
I'm so thankful for the amount of interest and, the people that I have at the gym, but scheduling becomes kind of a nightmare, man. I'm trying to work on, maybe getting, we have a mutual friend, Dan, and he's going to try to help me, maybe create an app, maybe, a website, something that I can get scheduling down where I can block off times and have people come and just check those times. But right now it's kind of just a lot of text messages back and forth, a lot of, just, hey, you available for this, or what's going on with that? And thankfully phone minutes aren't a thing anymore, because I'd be eating them up for sure.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because looking back, neither you nor I had any, I think, hint of being interested in weightlifting, when we first met back in the day, trying to be skater dudes. And, we like lost track of each other. And then, like you said, we ran into each other again later on in life. And you were, in the best way possible, probably like 3 times the Matt that I had met like years prior. Like, you literally, like, talk about everyone's different, and that was my experience of, it was kind of a rough learn of, I'm a smaller guy. Like, I got big and strong compared to like where I was at, but you have to take into account people's genetics and like things that, just are a factor no matter how hard you work out. And it seems like you really took to it, something about what you've been doing. You've really responded. And, what's that been like, your personal journey? Or were you like surprised when you started lifting, like, wow, this is really like I'm really starting to see some results fast? Or what was that like on your personal side?
So growing up, like, I always felt like the Ophi kid, like, like just the awkward, like, kind of like, I was tall, but I was super skinny. I had really long arms, like, but I was strong. Like, I've always been strong. Like even when I was real skinny, I just felt like I was stronger than normal. And then that, you know, that might have been only in my head, but like I felt that way. And then, you know, I kind of just took to the lifting thing. And I was like, well, I can lift really, really heavy, really, really. And that's kind of where it started. Like I was just like, I'll lift really, really heavy. And I didn't have anybody teaching anything. I just kind of did. And then, you know, you find Arnold Schwarzenegger's bodybuilding, and you know, you find books here and there, and you see people like Kai Green or Ronnie Coleman or whatever the case is. And you go from in a friend's basement to, you know, seeing a weight bench here and there and lifting it. And that's kind of where it went for me. And then years went by, and then I just kind of found it again, you know, like I didn't know I needed it. Like I didn't know, like nobody ever talks about, well, up until recently, nobody ever talks about like mental health. You know, it's just kind of like, do you yoga, you know, this and that. Nobody ever talks about like, you know, stresses of like the day to day. It's just like an ugly little thing. And, you know, physically I was really strong. Mentally, I was just a mess. And then I found a way to balance that. And I found a way to make my lifts stronger, even stronger than they were, because it wasn't just out of emotion. Like I knew that I needed to work this part of my chest or that part. And, you know, your body became more like there was more synergy with the way that things went. And that's kind of how it evolved. Like that's kind of how where it went, like where it started to where it is now.
Oh yeah, and I give you big kudos on that front, as well as, you know, anyone that, you know, knows my wife and sees things that she posts. You know, she's very open about her anxiety and her PTSD and things, and that's what, you know, mainly out of anything that's helped over the years is her and I have stayed in a routine of, you know, working out regularly and focusing on this and that and teamwork and trying to be advocates, because there is this weird stigma, you know, and it's coming out a little bit since people have been quarantined and it's popping up more. But, you know, there is a stigma of like, you know, if someone had a broken leg, you wouldn't tell them, oh, just suck it up and walk on it, you know, like, so it's just a little different because it's in someone's head that you can't see it. People just view it differently. So, you know, it kind of spinning off of that, and with your experience with the military, have you done anything specific on that front of like, you know, veteran outreach, or like trying to get a group of veterans together that would benefit from that type of, you know, atmosphere and lifting and stuff like that? I mean, being close to the Air Force Base and everything.
So I know I was stationed in Dover, so I know a lot of the guys in a lot of different sections of Dover, and I've reached out to them. But Dover has such a nice facility, and the schedules that, you know, some of those guys keep, we kind of miss each other. You know, like you get in the day to day. But that's what originally I wanted this gym to be, is a haven for mental health. You know, like, and I was like, well, I have, you know, my veteran friends, I have people around me and that, you know, maybe may benefit from this. And some people have, you know, some people do come to the gym and see a difference mentally more than they do physically, because, you know, they find an outlet that is like a haven for them. And then, you know, you get people that get reassigned and leave and stuff like that. So I have people come and go, and that's okay, you know, like, but I tell them all the time, like, if you're here for one day, if you're here for 6 years, you know, I want you to leave better than you came. You know, like that's my goal, is that we find a common place, we achieve that goal. And then, you know, if life takes you in a different direction, then, you know, I've left a better mark, or giving you the tools to change your reality, you know. And
Sure.
I think that's a really big thing. You know, I struggle with anxiety too, you know, like and you shouldn't feel embarrassed to say that. And, you know, you shouldn't feel out of place to say that.
No,
But
but I mean that, and it's actually refreshing to see too, because, you know, like I don't lift nearly as much as I used to. You know, I do it occasionally, and just it's just time and energy, and I just feel like it all comes from one energy source, and like I just have spread myself a little too thin,
Right.
you know, recently with all these different projects and things I got going on. I hope to get back to it, but you know, even within the gym, like there's this stigma of like, you know, people roll their eyes like, oh, here comes New Year's resolutioners, like, and they just view people that are like starting off as like, you know, pests, or like they're in the way. And like, you know, it's like no wonder people walk into your average gym and they just feel out of place or uncomfortable, or they don't stick with it, because everyone will laugh instead of walking over and be like, that's not how you use that machine. Like, turn around, you got it completely wrong. You know, like
Yeah.
people like view like the whole process, but everyone has to start somewhere.
Right.
You know, and so like someone as like that's done it as long as you, that's obviously successful, because you barely fit in my Zoom screen, like you're just a mountain of muscle. So like, you know, obviously, but to see you be so sensitive about it, I think that needs to be spread more, because I think that's something that the fitness industry as a whole could truly benefit from, is tag teaming it with mental health, with open arms, with, you know, welcoming of new people. Because, you know, our country is sick. Our country is both physically and mentally, like with this quarantine, and people's diets have been crap. They've been locked inside their house. I mean, like,
Right.
I think, you know, that could be a true avenue to get out of this rut that our country is in, is focus on get yourself moving, get around some positive people, iron sharpens iron, you know, get some motivation, and go to Victory Barbell and get just jacked and shredded,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. All of the above. And like I try to ask people that as soon as they walk through the door. You know, I introduce myself. I give them the disclaimer, you know, like everything's wiped down, everything's clean, you know, like because we are in a pandemic, and you know, there are realities that we live in, you know, that where people are, you know, scared of what's going on. And I try my best to make them as comfortable as I can, as quickly as I can, you know, like, and then we go to work, you know, like, and I say, you know, you should feel this here, or, you know, and I tell them the first couple of weeks it's going to be real slow. You may feel like, oh man, this isn't traditionally what I do in a gym, you know, I may be fixing decades of bad habits, you know, like your arms are too far out when you do push-ups, or, you know, your body may be too narrow while you're doing squats, you know, all of these little nuanced things may set you on a path that, you know, you're doing the big lifts, and you're loving it, because you're throwing weight around like it's a toy, you know. But that's not everybody's path. That's not everybody's journey, you know. So some people, they just want to go in there and sweat, you know, just put me on a bike and yell at me. You know, some people shut down when they're yelled at, you know. It's just I balance I try to balance the physical with the mental. And I do think that, you know, to touch on the society thing, I think that we forget that a lot. We forget, like, you know, we're human beings, and people make mistakes, and people, you know, do things like that. But spreading positivity, you know, you said iron sharpens iron. I think positivity breeds positivity too. You know, like, I think that's a really big thing, and people seem to be scared to talk about it, you know, like, and I think that's a thing that, you know, is missing, especially in the work, like the lifting community, because
Sure.
you get some of those people, like you get some of those people that want to be a part of a family, but maybe not breed the positivity too. So it becomes a very like toxic place to be without them even knowing it, you know.
And like, you know, we're talking from a point of view of like, you know, I actually went to college for fitness. I did the ACSM certification. You know, I kind of know like what's involved on the background, but, you know, for the people that have maybe dabbled here and there, and tried a gym and lost track, or didn't quite find that right group, I mean, what are some more popular or more regular myths or things that you have to debunk when you come in, like, the old traditional, like, say you have a female come in, a woman come in, and they've been told, like, you just do cardio over and over, and with lifting weights will make them bulky. And I mean, like, there's things that deter people that are like just bad myths that are out there. What are some of the ones that you would make sure to educate people on to keep them coming, or to keep them open-minded when they're coming to the gym?
So I start with asking about like we talked about this. So I start about asking what their goal is. And some people will come in and say, I want to be 110 pounds, and walk through my door at 210 pounds. Like, well, that's not always how that works. You gotta take the individual person and say, hey, look, your lean mass may be 130, and you may think that you look like 110, but you gotta kind of take the scale out of it for a second. Take that out of it. I want to make you healthy first, and then we'll get you to a place where you may change those goals. And you may think that because this celebrity is 110 pounds and you like the way they look, that your body can meet that standard. And that's not always the case. And that's the biggest thing. And then it's the smaller stuff, like people thinking that cardio is just the devil, and I can eat whatever the hell I want because I worked out and burned 400 calories, not getting enough hydration. Like, that's the biggest thing. The first thing I tell everybody, everyone looks at me crazy, but the first thing I tell everybody is try to get the proper amount of water in your body first. Like, eliminate sodas and get the proper water. I said, don't do anything else. Don't change anything else in your diet. And they always look at me crazy. Can I have McDonald's? Yeah. Yes. Because we're going to start changing pillars of your life. Because if I just wipe everything out and new year, new me, in 3 months or in 3 weeks, you're not even going to want to do this anymore. And I've failed you, because that's my goal, is to keep you doing this the rest of your life.
Sure.
And they look at me crazy. Like, I tell them, don't overindulge. But if you want that cheeseburger for one meal, then go have that cheeseburger. I'm willing to bet on my product and know that you're going to want to change these things if you do this incrementally, because you're going to see a difference and you're going to keep wanting to see a difference. And it's going to be like a hobby, like a life-changing thing for you. And I'm willing to put that up against any other traditional workout, like anything that you can buy off the shelves, anything like that.
Well, and I think that hits home for things that go out of the realm of exercise and just changing your physique too. I mean, you hit on some pretty important things, and I've said something similar to, I didn't have the patience like you do, of you would spend the time and make a workout plan for somebody and a nutrition plan, and then just, for a fact that they're not doing it when they go home. It's like you only have them for an hour here and there. Like, what they're doing outside is so much more important than what they're doing in front of you.
Right.
And, kudos to you on your patience and dedication to stick with it. I definitely lacked on that front whenever I was making programs for people. But what you said hits home on even things that I'm facing outside of exercise, just on a day-to-day basis with myself right now. Like I mentioned, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I have multiple little projects I'm working on this, trying to develop all these different things, trying to read certain books. And if you try to make one fell swoop, let's just completely reinvent myself in one day, you get burned out and you lose track of why you're doing it. But like, just cutting out one thing at a time. And like, that hits home so much with, like, for me, like, okay, instead of like, let's try to just completely revamp this, let's see if we can do it every day for an hour here or there, and just sprinkle that into my schedule. And then if that sticks, let's add another hour here. Like, you make those small life changes, and then it just becomes part of your routine and part of your habit. I think that's Like you're setting a foundation for the long term, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm taking a crumbling foundation and I'm trying to fortify it, like, and send you into the world, confident in knowing that for the rest of my life, I have these great habits that will further me, like, so you don't have to feel like you can only eat carrots and celery at the barbecue, I've seen so many people that sit there and they just go, man, I can only have 3 pieces of celery today. Well, that's not good for your body. Yeah, it's not extra calories, but your body does need to eat stuff. It does need to move and function, and it needs fuel to do that. And changing those little things, like people are like, man, I lost 10 pounds and all I did was change my water intake. Like, see, imagine doing that with nutrition, like how fast that would just shred out. Like I start them with just changing their form in some of their workouts. And even that is, they're like, oh man, that I feel pretty good. And they'll leave that. And then they'll leave the gym. And then in like an hour, I'll get a text and be like, I can't even wash my hair. I'm like, well, like make sure you get protein, make sure you're drinking water, make sure, eat a banana if you feel like, and I send them that stuff. But to touch on what you were saying about making plans, what I do is a little bit different. I don't let them see, I'm present in the moment. So like I work out with them and I just I have stuff on my phone and, a little notebook of like things that they can do or things I want them to do, little things I want them to hit on. And I don't show them that. I don't write a workout program in front of them. I just move them from machine to machine. And I'm watching their body and watching their heart, like sometimes I ask them what their heart rate is and stuff like that. But I'm watching how they're reacting to stuff. And sometimes that means putting your foot on the throttle, sometimes it's putting your foot on the brake, and letting people breathe and letting people, make sure they hit that rate between, 127 and 145, heart rate and this and that. And knowing all the scientific stuff, but simplifying it for them when they walk into the gym. So, that I become the mind and they become the muscle, but educating them each step of the way, until the point where like I don't need to educate them and I can just say, hey, 4 sets of 10 bench press, let's go to work, and that's how we're going to do it. But not everybody starts that way. Some people it's like, okay, we're going to do 3 sets of as many push-ups as you can do. And that turns out to be 3 of 5 reps, and that's okay. I would rather quality over quantity, because quantity I can fix, quality takes longer if you have bad habits.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're kind of running short on time. So one of the things I wanted to hit on before I let you go, just out of curiosity, like where's your mindset on like the direction for Victory? Because obviously you're so involved that, that gives you a certain quality of what you're providing to people, right? But you can only dedicate X amount per day to that. Like you even mentioned, like scheduling starting to get a little hectic because you have more interest, because people want to be involved. Like, where do you see this going? Like, do you envision it growing and growing? Do you kind of want to cap it to keep it at a certain level of where you can stay as involved? Like, I mean, obviously you have to, as a business owner, like fund your own lifestyle and to keep the lights on and everything. Like, where's that balance and where do you see that going?
So I mean, I could be as cocky as I want and just say, I want to take down Under Armour, like I could say that, but like for me, it's just kind of like, I want to work on, I told you this, but I guess I'll say I wanted to work on apparel. So like shirts and like tank tops and stuff. And I've been trying to grow that inventory, based on interest, like between hats and shirts and and beanies and tank tops. And then, probably work on like a storefront. And I got some places that, I'm considering and stuff like that. But in order for me to take that step, I want to make sure that I'm not overstepping, like any sort of business. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to take a big giant leap when baby steps may be the better choice here. And I don't want to spread myself too thin either. Ron, you ever see the show Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Ron Swanson said, don't half-ass two things, whole ass one thing. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really that simple.
All right. Well, I think that's a great place to end on Ron Swanson. He's my guy. So I think so. Let's plug you here as far as what's the best way for people to reach out to you to find more about Victory, about what you got going on. I mean, obviously I can throw some links up into the post, but I mean, what's your preferred method of reaching out and asking questions?
So I have a Facebook page and I have an Instagram page, Victory Barbell Company. You can find both of them if you just type in the search bar in both Instagram and Facebook. Website is coming, but all of my contact information is on there, and I'm pretty responsive. I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can.
I love it, dude. Well, I love the positivity, the energy. I mean, obviously I knew you prior to this, but I got a ton out of this conversation. So I hope, we can spread this thing far and wide. I think you got a great message. You got a great vibe going on. You got a great thing you're brewing. So I hope it takes off and fulfills every dream you got. And if I can help along the way, absolutely let me know, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just one more thing, I want to make sure that I say it on this is like a big, big, giant thank you to people that helped me get to this point. Obviously you, my buddy Dan Maffett, and Lee Benedict, all those guys really, really helped me get, to a point where I am now. And honestly, without like constantly messaging about like, this is my logo or this is going on, I'd probably lose my mind because, between that and my parents and Brianna, that, I would have just been way too stressed out. So I appreciate the help to get me there, so far. So
absolutely, dude. Keep on trucking.
All right, brother. Well, I enjoyed the conversation.